Elon Musk is suing OpenAI, and he is suing OpenAI CEO Sam Altman and co-founder slash president Greg Brockman for breach of contract. Now, Musk says that the company, and by extension, Altman and Brockman, violated a founding agreement in which they promised to develop AI for the good of humanity, not for profit. And he wants the company to pay a pretty significant price. He's seeking a court order that would force the company to make all of its research and its technology public. And the court order would also compel OpenAI to give back all the money it's made as a result of breaching this contract. Now, for anyone who doesn't remember, Musk was one of the founding members of OpenAI. Back when it was a nonprofit, he says that they all agreed at that time that any AI developed by OpenAI would be used to benefit humanity and not make money. Now, in the lawsuit, he's saying that the seed funding he provided to OpenAI over the years, allegedly more than $44 million in total, was contingent on those promises. And he says that now those promises have been broken. Musk seems to center around the claim that OpenAI's commercial relationship with Microsoft violates this founding agreement that they had. He said in the lawsuit, quote, OpenAI Inc. has been transformed into a closed source de facto subsidiary of the largest technology company in the world, Microsoft. Under its new board, it is not just developing, but is actually refining an AGI to maximize profits for Microsoft rather than for the benefit of humanity. Now, those three little letters are pretty important to this: AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. AGI could be defined as AI that can kind of broadly perform many tasks as well or better than humans. Now, Musk is literally saying in the lawsuit that GPT-4 is a type of AGI, and that OpenAI has agreed not to commercialize any type of AGI, and thus is in violation of its contract and the founding agreement of the company. So, Paul, let's just address the elephant in the room right away. Elon Musk has a highly, let's say, controversial reputation, and plenty of people are pretty skeptical about his motives, about him mouthing off online. Like, how seriously should we take this lawsuit? Can you help us kind of separate the claims from the guy bringing them?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do that. But I mean, my overall take is I think the lawsuit is probably more show than it is, meant to actually get them to have to pay this. I think it might be in part just to force discovery, to force information to get out. But I think it's helpful to understand the lawsuit by revisiting the history of OpenAI, and specifically, as you alluded to, the origins of OpenAI as a counterbalance to Larry Page and Google. So what I would suggest is go back and listen to episode 73 of the AI Show podcast. In that episode, I took a deep dive. This is November of 2023. I took a deep dive into Sam Altman being fired temporarily from OpenAI and why. And within that, went into AGI and superintelligence. We went into the origins of OpenAI. So that episode will help you understand the lawsuit way better. But I will give a very quick kind of snapshot of that episode, but within the context of some things that have happened since. So first, Larry Page and Google, so Larry Page, one of the co-founders with Sergey Brin, purchased DeepMind in January of 2014. So DeepMind, if you recall, is a London AI research lab that was founded in 2010 by Demis Hassabis, Shane Legg, and Mustafa Solomon. Demis and Shane are still at DeepMind. Mustafa has since gone on to co-found Inflection. So in 2014, Musk was actually an early investor in DeepMind. He did this after meeting Demis Hassabis in the early days of DeepMind at the SpaceX labs, actually, and became concerned about the direction DeepMind was going and the potential of their AGI. So in 2014, when Google was buying DeepMind, Musk actually tried to stop it. He tried to put an investor group together to purchase DeepMind and tried to convince Demis that selling to Google was a bad idea, that, in quotes, the future of AI should not be controlled by Larry. referring to Page in the lawsuit. So this is actually from the lawsuit where that came in. Um, Now, why did he not want DeepMind under the control of Larry Page and Google? So for that, we have to go to another New York Times article that tells the story about Elon Musk's 44th birthday in July of 2015. So at that party, Larry Page, who was a friend of Elon's, was there, and Larry and Elon, sitting by a fireside, started having a conversation around artificial intelligence. The story in the New York Times goes on to say people sort of started kind of arriving around them and listening in because the tone started getting contentious, and they started having a debate about AI and whether or not it would ultimately elevate humanity or destroy it. So Page said humans would eventually merge with AI machines. One day there would be many kinds of intelligence competing for resources, and the best would win. Musk said, "We're doomed if that happens. Machines will destroy humanity." And Page insisted his utopia should be pursued, and he called Mr. Musk a speciesist, as a person who favors human over the digital life forms of the future. So this is July of 2015, and that insult, as the New York Times tell it, was the last straw. So now keep in mind, 2015, Musk has already lost out on acquiring DeepMind, which he didn't think Google should control. Google now controls DeepMind, and Larry Page is saying to Musk basically like, "Hey, if the machines win, let it be." So Musk is obviously very concerned around the future and Page's cavalier approach to AI. And that is the last straw that leads to the founding of OpenAI. So fast forward to December 15, about 6 months later, Sam Altman, Elon Musk, Ilya Sutskever, Greg Brockman form a nonprofit organization with the stated goal to assemble the best researchers in the field to pursue the goal of building AGI in a safe way as this counterbalance to Google. Fast forward April 2018, OpenAI releases their charter with the principles we use to execute OpenAI's mission, which is, again, quotation, to ensure that AGI, by which we mean highly autonomous systems that outperform humans at most economically valuable work, benefits all of humanity. We will attempt to directly build safe and beneficial AGI. So at this moment, it is supposed to be open. They're supposed to share what they learn. That is the premise that Musk and Altman built OpenAI and supposedly agreed to. Then on March 11, 2019, 3 years before the launch of GPT-4, they announced the formation of OpenAI LP. And this is where they created this capped profit company. So we're now in 2019, almost 3.5 years after the creation of OpenAI. They are creating this capped profit company. In this, they state the mission still comes first. They are still pursuing safe AGI, but they need more money, basically. And so this change allows them to go get money from Microsoft eventually. Then in June 2023, so we're now fast forwarding, we're about 5 months before Altman gets fired as the CEO, they publish an update to their structure. And within that update, it states, the fifth thing it states is that the board determines when they've attained AGI. So this is where it starts becoming very critical to understand the lawsuit and what Musk is claiming with GPT-4 being an early form of AGI, basically. So it says the board determines when we've attained AGI. Again, we mean highly autonomous system that outperforms humans at most economically valuable work. Such a system, and this is the critical part, such a system is excluded from IP licenses and other commercial terms with Microsoft, which only apply to pre-AGI technology. So if GPT-4 is AGI, as Microsoft's own paper, Sparks of Intelligence, claims it to be, then Microsoft has no rights to license the technology. So then we jump to November 13th, 2023. This is 4 days before Altman is fired. He confirms in a Financial Times interview that they are training GPT-5 and that they don't know what it will be capable of. He specifically says, I quote, "Until we go train that model, it's like a fun guessing game for us. We're trying to get better at it because I think it's important from a safety perspective to predict the capabilities. But I can't tell you, here's exactly what it's going to do that GPT-4 didn't." But then the night before Altman is fired, 10 days after OpenAI's dev conference where they introduced GPTs, He's on stage and he kind of goes a little bit further. He says, I think it's going to be the greatest step forward that we've had yet so far, and the greatest leap forward of any of the big technological revolutions we've had. I'm super excited. I can't imagine anything more exciting to work on. And on a personal note, and this is where we kind of thought maybe this is part of why he got fired. Um, just in the last couple of weeks, I have gotten to be in the room when we sort of push the sort of veil of ignorance back and the frontier of discovery forward. And getting to do that is like a professional honor of a lifetime. So it's just fun to get to work on that. So now we are in November 2023. AGI is maybe starting to emerge, maybe not. But if it is, then Microsoft doesn't like it. So things are getting complicated. And then Sam gets fired. So then I do the episode 73 talking about all this. And at the end of that episode, I had 8 final thoughts. And I'm going to linger on 2 of them for a moment. So number 4 was, I feel like Elon will play a role in this at some point. Remember, this is why he started OpenAI and then left it, and why he's building XAI and Grok. So that has become true now with our lawsuit. The other was, number 8, the key question in all this, in my opinion, is what did Sam witness in that room, and has OpenAI made a breakthrough in the pursuit of AGI and superintelligence? So certainly, Elon thinks they have. So now I'll come back to the lawsuit. So in the lawsuit, Musk, this is right from the lawsuit, Mr. Musk has long recognized that AGI poses a grave threat to humanity, perhaps the greatest existential threat we face today. Our entire economy is based around the fact that humans work together and come up with the best solutions to a hard task. If a machine can solve nearly any task better than we can, that machine becomes more economically useful than we are. Then the kind of lawsuit goes on to lay out all this stuff about DeepMind and Google and the founding of OpenAI. And that's where the beef appears to begin. So Mr. Musk was, again, quoting from the lawsuit, was a driving force or moving force behind the creation of OpenAI Inc., contributing the majority of the funding the first several years, advising on research directions, and most importantly, recruiting some of the world's leading scientists and engineers to work at the nonprofit, including Ilya Sutskever, who still, since the firing of Sam Altman, is kind of AWOL, like not on Twitter, and we don't even know if he still works for OpenAI. So here's my overall take to kind of set the stage of what I think is going on. So the irony of the lawsuit to me is Musk has exited OpenAI, like he's no longer involved. He is building his own large language model, Grok, with a K, which is not open source. So he's now building his own model that's not open source. He is building full self-driving cars with computer vision technology and real-world data that may actually be critical to unlocking true AGI because people think it's critical for worldview. He's building humanoid robots at Tesla that can learn from multimodal data and take actions in the real world. And he is merging humans and machines with Neuralink, where they're literally embedding hardware into human brains to merge the humans with the machines because he thinks that's critical to our survival. So everything he said he worried about Google doing, he is doing. This doesn't change the legal merit and whether or not there was a contract, and like that's for the courts to decide. But it's more likely to me that this is about stopping Sam and OpenAI over some beef he has with them. And the reason why I actually think this is 100% what's happening is one other piece that isn't in the lawsuit. I don't think. It's 48 pages. I didn't read the full thing yet, but I doubt this is in there. In December 2023, Cade Metz and a couple other journalists from the New York Times published an article called Ego, Fear, and Money, How the AI Fuse Was Lit. And I'm just going to read this excerpt, Mike, and then you and I can have a conversation on this. So keep in mind again, Musk leaves OpenAI at some point and they go raise money. And his beef is that they form this for profit and raise the money. Well, why did they do that? Let's revisit history. So here's the New York Times. Initially, Mr. Musk wanted to operate OpenAI as a nonprofit free from the economic incentives that were driving Google and other corporations. But by the time Google wowed the tech community with its Go stunts, he's referring to AlphaGo in 2016, Mr. Musk was changing his mind about how it should be run. He desperately wanted OpenAI to invent something that would capture the world's imagination and close the gap with Google, but it wasn't getting the job done as a nonprofit. In late 2017, he, Mr. Musk, hatched a plan to wrest control of OpenAI from Altman and the other founders and transform it into a commercial operation that would join forces with Tesla and rely on supercomputers the car company was developing, according to 4 people familiar with the matter. When Mr. Altman and others pushed back, Mr. Musk quit and said he would focus on his own AI work at Tesla. In February 2018, he announced his departure to OpenAI's staff on the top floor of the startup's offices. 3 people who attended the meeting said. When he said that OpenAI needed to move faster, one of the researchers retorted at the meeting that Mr. Musk was being reckless, becoming the very thing that he was building OpenAI not to be. Mr. Musk called the researcher a jackass and stormed out, taking his deep pockets with him. OpenAI suddenly needed new financing in a hurry. Mr. Altman flew to Sun Valley for a conference and ran into Satya Nadella, Microsoft's chief executive. A tie-up seemed natural. Altman knew Microsoft's CTO, Kevin Scott. Microsoft had bought LinkedIn from Mr. Hoffman, an OpenAI board member. Mr. Nadella told Mr. Scott to get it done. The deal was closed in 2019. Altman and OpenAI formed a for-profit company under the original nonprofit, and they had a fresh $1 billion in capital. So why are they a for-profit company? It's because Musk wanted to do it first. They got pushback. He left, took his money with him, and they needed the money to do what they were doing. So the whole lawsuit is based on this premise of OpenAI changed their direction, which is the direction he tried to force them in anyway. So I am not an attorney, but when you understand this full context and you look back and see he actually tried to take control and become the CEO of OpenAI and roll it into Tesla, what are we even talking about here other than a vendetta against Sam and OpenAI? So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's other stuff that we don't know about, but Cade Metz is a pretty reliable guy who's deeply sourced with both Elon and Sam, and I'm guessing the New York Times didn't make up any of that stuff. And if that's the case, then this is just all a show, basically.
This is, I think someone online, when you posted about this, mentioned this being like a soap opera. I
Yeah.
feel like it's almost more like Game of Thrones over here.
It's so wild. And I mean, you kind of assume this was coming because there was also the part we didn't get into where Elon Musk summoned Sam Altman to the Twitter offices last year and basically told him to bring the founding documents of OpenAI with him. And that meeting didn't go well. And it was pretty apparent then that Musk was going to sue OpenAI and Sam. So nothing like this lawsuit was not a surprise to me at all. I've been waiting for this to happen. I think the question now becomes, what do we learn from it? This isn't about money for Musk. He's not suing for like his money back, his 44 million and then some, or, Sam already offered him when they met at Twitter, he offered him a stake and Elon didn't want it. So this isn't about money. This is about Elon losing and not liking it. And maybe he believes in this AGI is a threat to humanity, but then why is he building it himself? Like, it just doesn't add up. And so the question becomes like, well, what will we learn from this? Will they get to the point where there's discovery and we actually find out why was Sam actually fired and what did Sam see? And does OpenAI think GPT-4 is a form of AGI? And where is Ilya in all of this? And I don't think Elon's going to settle though. So again, not an attorney. I think either a judge throws this out because there's no contracts, no proof. And that was the one lawyer that you and I have talked about on the show before, Cecilia Zanetti. She did a great thread on this. We'll put in the show notes, but her thing was like, too long, don't read, PR fireworks and fun to read, intrigue and philosophizing about AGI, but legally a stinker because there's no contract breach. So basically there was no official contract there, assuming a few things together represent a contract, but there is no contract between Elon that was breached according to her. So there's a chance like this just gets thrown out, but there's a chance that it does move forward and then the discovery could be really interesting and make for some fascinating conversations on our show, I guess.
So lots of different things can be true at the same time. One, there may be broader actual concerns about AGI, both from Musk and from others related to what OpenAI is or is not developing. Also, Elon Musk can just be extremely vindictive.
Totally. and that's the thing. It's like maybe there is a breach of contract. Maybe there is some legal belief that there was actually consideration involved and there was a contract to be had, and it was breached. Like you and I aren't going to be the ones to figure that out. Maybe Elon believes there is. So maybe it's like this isn't a PR show. Maybe to him, he truly does feel wronged, and he feels like
Mm.
they went the wrong direction, and they couldn't do that because of their nonprofit structure, and it was illegal. And maybe he does believe that. Um, so yeah, like you said, all things can be true here. It'll be for the courts to decide, and for us to, I guess, just watch with intrigue.
And if you have at all heard of or read the Elon Musk biography by Walter Isaacson, the contradictions and intensity of this unfolding should not remotely surprise you. This
Yeah.
playbook has happened before.
Yeah, you and I think we talked about it a little bit last week. I'm almost done now with the book. And yes, there is zero about this that is surprising once you've read the book.